Here we go. God of War Ragnarok PC port suffers review bombing on Steam due to PlayStation Network account requirement. I already started ranting on this morning, dude. Look. I'm just going to go ahead and give my spiel here. And to all the people out there review bombing this because you're, upset you have to log into PlayStation account to play this, get wrecked. I know it doesn't feel good, but you're going to have to learn how to embrace the suck. This is the world we live in now, okay? Ultimately, your glass is half full and you're throwing a fit like a little baby, okay? When it really comes down to it, all right, we should be happy that we are getting games quicker and we're not having to. So first of all, we're not having to relinquish to buying specific hardware nearly as often as we used to anymore, okay? So these first-party games coming from PlayStation to PC and stuff like that, or from Xbox to other competitors, what have you, okay? The glass is half full. We're lucky that that's happening, because having to buy proprietary hardware, we still are going to have to deal with the situation of initial time frames of exclusivity and stuff. Don't get me wrong, but it's happening more and more often, quicker and quicker, where we're getting these titles on the platforms that we prefer when they used to be exclusive for a very long time, if not entirely, right? So in my opinion, quit being stupid, quit review bombing good games just because you're throwing a little baby fit about having to log into another platform, okay? I know it's not fun, but the glass is half full. We're getting these games on the platforms we prefer, and what you're doing is acting like a child, okay? Review bombing good games because you don't want to have to log into PlayStation's platform. This is the way the business world works in the gaming industry, okay? And this is the result of if we want to have these games on our preferred platforms, the major players and developers in the industry, like Xbox, PlayStation, things like that. If we're going to have their proprietary first-party games on our platform of preference, then you're going to play them there. You have to understand and come to grips with the fact that they're going to want to count you as a player on their platform at the same time. This is the way it is. This is the very, very small thing that you're going to have to deal with to be able to play the game on your preferred platform. And to go review bomb a game because this is what you have to deal with to play that game on your platform, stop. It's not going to get better. This is the way it's going to be now. So either you can't have it, obviously perfect world, we wouldn't have to deal with this, right? And again, the whole Helldivers 2 situation of them releasing that game and not requiring it and then trying to regulate, make it a regulation, a requirement that people had to log in or they weren't going to be able to play anymore. That was unacceptable. That should never happen. But in this situation, you're going to have to understand that from now on, this is the way it's going to be. And either we don't get those first-party games on our platforms of choice, and if you want to play those games, you have to go spend a grip to get that hardware as well as your preferred platform of choice just to play those proprietary first-party games, or it's this way. Quit getting your panties in a wad and review bombing good games just because you have to log into their platform. This is the way it's going to be. This is a good thing for us. Stop it. This pisses me off so bad. Everybody wants to act like, we're being treated poorly You know, and look, I'm the first one to point out the kinds of things where we get treated poorly. Everybody in this community knows I will go on a rant after rant after rant about the way we're treated poorly. Just to have to log into another platform to play a game rather than having to buy PlayStation's hardware is not a big deal. But this is the way it's going to be. Come to grips with it. Quit review bombing good games because of it. This is stupid. It irks me so bad that people can't see past, you know what I mean, where we're actually getting benefits and do this kind of crap. This is terrible. I'll try to calm down a little bit. I know, man, I'm ranting right now, but Jesus, people are dumb sometimes. The thing is, I get it, man. I understand how mauling it is to have libraries in multiple different places, to have to log into different platforms and stuff. Most of the time now, though, when this kind of stuff happens, it is becoming more seamless for us. If you have a platform that is a platform you play on a lot, you have integrations for the other kinds of, you know, it ends up becoming a thing. You have integrations for the other platforms that are a part of it, right? If you're playing a game through Sony, you know, it'll end up becoming a thing at some point. I guarantee you. If you're going to play one of Sony's proprietary first-party games through Steam, it'll automatically be associated with your Steam account. So you won't even really have to worry about it anymore. It'll be like a one-time login or like once-a-year login or whatever. It'll just be tied to your Steam account. It won't even be a big deal. People are throwing a fit about something. They really need to look at it from the other point of view of this. We're benefiting. We're getting great games on a better platform, by the way, in my opinion, than having to go buy PlayStation's hardware. Yet people still want to throw a fit and go review bomb the games. Man, that's terrible. Get your head out of your asses. God of War Ragnarok PC port suffers review bombing on Steam due to a PlayStation Network account requirement. Earlier this week, God of War Ragnarok made its way to Steam a year and 10 months after its initial PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 console releases. Again, you know, this is PlayStation being more aggressive, getting us the games to our preferred platform, at least for PC players, much sooner than they even had beforehand, right? So we're talking a year and 10 months. I know that's still a chunk of time. I get it. It is. It still feels very long for me too, but this is half, roughly, of the time frame that we used to have to deal with. It used to be 3 to 4 years, right? So they're coming quicker. It's at least something. It's progress, man. You know? Unfortunately for many users, it has launched a PlayStation Network account requirement despite being a single-player game. Mandatory check-in also means users can't launch the game while offline. It's a little surprising the game is seeing a high concentration of negative reviews on its Steam page, particularly in the aftermath of the Helldivers 2 incident where Sony actually reversed course. Just a second, Pinky. I'll read what you wrote after I read all this. Granted, Helldivers 2 is a different case for two reasons. The primary reason is that Helldivers 2 launched without PSN linking requirements. As I said before, it is unacceptable of Sony to do this kind of thing, to release a game without the PSN requirement in the first place, and then to go back and do that, and all the ramifications that were going to be imposed on people. A lot of people weren't even going to be able to play the game anymore after that, because PlayStation Network's not available in their countries or whatever, or their region. You know, PlayStation did a terrible, terrible thing in this situation, and thank God they backtracked on it, because that was terrible. You know, that's not anything that should ever happen. They deserved, you know, PlayStation deserved the criticism, and even the Arrowhead was like, you know, we get it. People were review bombing their other games, though, which is not acceptable. People are out of their flipping minds. Even the Arrowhead game said, you should be review bombing us right now. Review bomb our game, Helldivers 2. But then people went so far as to start review bombing their other games that had nothing to do with it. People are stupid and insane. That's just asinine. I digress. The primary reason is that Helldivers 2 launched without PSN linking requirements, so adding it after the fact would ruin the game for many legitimate customers, including those in areas where PSN is unavailable. The second reason is that Helldivers 2 is, of course, a multiplayer game, so some sort of online requirement did make a kind of sense. Agreed there. This is something we talk about all the time. The second reason is that Helldivers 2 is, of course, a multiplayer game. Some sort of online requirement did make kind of sense, but Ragnarok has no such online multiplayer functionality. Makes it inability to launch it into the full game offline extra frustrating. The fact of the matter is, again, one of the reasons they're probably going to want you to always have online access is so that they can count player base, right? I mean, it never feels good, though. Single-player games like that, right? Single-player games, this is one of those areas of contention all the time for us as gamers. I'm not condoning it. I think it's terrible. Oh, brother. We got that Papega aim, dude. Either Squid1 or Papega aim. Free sub. Let's go. I hate the notion of whether it be a single-player game or even a game like, take for instance, like Payday 3. Payday 3 got a ton of criticism because you couldn't play it offline. And that's a game where you're supposed to be able to play the game either co-op online or you're supposed to be able to play it single player, because you can take companions, you know, AI-controlled companions with you, right? But it was an online-only experience. This is something we've been dealing with in the video gaming industry for a long time now as gamers and consumers, right? That a lot of it doesn't make sense necessarily, you know? I understand from a developer standpoint, there's going to be things for it, especially when you're talking about a game that has a major online component where you're trying to the best of your ability, deal with things that could potentially be injected into game files in an offline state easier and then be included into the game when it was in an online state, as opposed to it always being online, right? Because look, man, let's be fair, there are always people out there trying to do that kind of stuff. But especially when there's a game like God of War that is an entirely single-player experience, right? It's a little bit different, dude. It's a little bit different. And it never feels good. I think this is one of the biggest downsides to, you know, especially us on the PC side of things. We've embraced this entire digital world of gaming, right? Nobody does physical gaming on PC hardly anymore. And what we've lost in a lot of scenarios is that ability to play our single-player games without a connection, without an online connection. And a lot of it is platform-specific. In a way, this review bombing for God of War Ragnarok is a shame. I agree. Actually, I absolutely agree. Pinky, I'll read the other thing that you wrote in chat just a second ago, too. Just a second. Review bombing is cringe thing to do, but what other option is there to express dissatisfaction over the mandatory to the account? I don't know. Again, I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous that people just don't understand why it's going to be a necessary. This is not just a Sony thing. This is going to be an Xbox thing. This is going to be a thing across, you know, Ubisoft, EA, you name it. Doesn't matter, dude. Doesn't matter. If you're not playing on their platform and logged into their platform, you're going to be playing on their games on a different platform. You're going to be logged into their platform still through another platform. It's going to be connected, right? I mean, this is, and so the thing for me is it's asinine for people to be throwing a fit. It's not like we haven't already been dealing with it, you know? I get, you know, I'm not saying nobody should be review bombing games. That's not my thing. You know, review bombing is actually a very useful thing to happen whenever appropriate. But this doesn't seem appropriate to me, I guess, is where I'm getting at with it. You're looking at this as you're throwing shade on the fact. Now, you know, if it's the whole single player scenario, we'll flesh that out in a second. But you know, having to be online for a single player, but just throwing shade at a game because you've got to be logged into Sony's platform, when ultimately you're getting to play this game on your platform of choice and not having to buy into PlayStation's hardware, really, you're looking at it all wrong. In my opinion, and I'm pretty steadfast on this, you're looking at this all wrong. You're going to review bomb a game because you have to log into another platform? It's quite childish. When really you should just be thankful that you're being able to play this game on your platform of choice. Again, review bombing is appropriate in a lot of occasions. This does not seem right. Now, again, we'll talk about the whole single-player online scenario in a moment. But by most accounts, the actual game is quite good. Additionally, the PC port seems to be quite well optimized, as I expected, because 2018's God of War was a banger on release. And I played it the day it came out. And feature complete, which we've come to expect from these PlayStation PC ports. But it is always lovely to see from a game developed for the console first. However, the shame here isn't on those reviewers. It's on Sony for forcing a completely unnecessary, arbitrary PSN requirement on a single-player game that doesn't need it. It's not about needing it. People have to understand the way the business works, man. This is a business thing. I guess for me, it's just it's incredibly frustrating that people don't understand what this is. It's in my opinion, a very small thing to have to deal with in order to be able to play a game like this on my platform of preference. You know, as opposed to everybody else is throwing a fit about it, and it's not really that big of a deal. Obviously, again, all of these platforms are going to want to count you as a player on their platform if you're playing their first-party games, right? Business is business, man. You know? So, as always, measures like this likely for DRM's sake, since there's almost no other conceivable reason for this requirement. DRM's going to be a part of it. DRM's going to be a part of it. It's also a numbers thing. They want to count you as a part of their platform. If this is what it always had been, right? Again, so, you know, I think the review bombing is because they exactly understand what it is. Well, I don't think this person exactly understands what it is. The thing about it is they are losing player base. They're losing player base on their platform. Whenever people are waiting to play these games on their platform of choice, like PC, if they don't have people logging in, the numbers aren't there. And numbers in business are important, especially in video games. Showing numbers, showing player base, showing people logged into their platform and their account, that's a big flipping deal. Right? So for people that think this is only a DRM thing, it is not. We're going from a situation in the past where people were much more likely to buy into hardware for proprietary games, for first-party games. So now that we are evolving in the video gaming industry to Xbox releasing their games on competitors' platforms, PlayStation is releasing their games much quicker on PC, things like that. They're losing those numbers for people logged in to their platforms. And they need to know those numbers. That's a big deal for them. That's a big deal for their shareholders. The numbers game is huge. So to think that if anybody is under the impression that the DRM part of this is the only reason, I'm not saying it's not part of it, but the numbers game of counting player base is huge. That's a big part of this. And obviously this author doesn't get that. So I'm not going to assume that the review bombing is because everybody exactly understands what's going on here. This author says, with any luck for these gamers, Sony will reverse course as it did with Helldivers 2. It won't happen. I'm here to tell you right now, this is not going to happen. And I'll one-up you. This will continue to be a thing persisting moving forward. As I've said previously, this is something that these companies need to know, numbers-wise. Okay? It's not just a DRM thing. This is part of business. They need to know these numbers. So whether it's PlayStation or Xbox or any other company, Ubisoft, EA, where they've got major platforms themselves for people to utilize, but they also put their games out on other platforms, they're going to want you to log in through their own platform too, because they need to count numbers. And for people that go, well, yeah, we'll be able to count sales numbers. It's not just about that. It's about counting consistent player base, things of that nature, and you don't get the real full picture unless you're having people log into your platform. That's a big part of what this is. So, well, the best I can give you is embrace the suck, man. If you want to play these games on your platform of choice, embrace the suck. This is what it is, and it's going to continue to be this way. And I don't think that in this particular scenario, the appropriate thing to do is review bomb games. Banger games that we otherwise wouldn't have on our platform of choice. In my opinion, this is a terrible way to look at this and to address this and react to this. I know it's not a fun thing to deal with, but it's really minuscule in comparison to not being able to play the games on the platform we prefer.